suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Greetings of Happy New Year from the Philippines to the world. We are on Facebook Live on Eagle News and also on our streaming site eaglenewslive.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel at Eagle News. I am Cesar Vallejos. Welcome to Open for Business. Join me discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. As we welcome 2020, Open for Business brings you back to the exciting journey that we had in the previous year. For our viewers who have been following us, you will recall that Open for Business started as an online business show to reach more MSMEs and share with them valuable business insights from the country's thought leaders. EBC management decided to air the show on mainstream television that paved the way to OFB also on Net25. On our 57th online episode, we launched Open for Business on TV, which was highlighted by the first Open for Business Forum. Here's a look back to that momentous event in the show's history.
Ngayon to, meron po, bawat firm, kayo po ay nandito, iniimbitahan ko kayo. We are challenging all of you here today, mga businesses, to become a Philippine Quality Awardee. Pag sinabi po nating DTI, TNK po yan. Trabaho, negosyo, at consumer. Yan ho, if you hear DTI, in charge po kami sa pag-generate ng mga trabaho. We are encouraging investments, whether foreign or local, to come here. And then, ito po kami, competitiveness and innovation. Kailangan po maging competitive ang ating bayan. Pag ang bayan po natin ay competitive, sabi nga ho, mataas ang ranking, pupunta dito ang mga investors. At pag pumunta po dito ang investors, magkakaroon po tayo ng negosyo at pag maraming negosyo, maraming trabaho.
Now, more often than not, and if you guys are doing business, and like for people like Gail and Mitch and Nico over here who've gone mentored for Go Negosyo, oftentimes we get mentors, and I'm sure Yusek can commiserate with me, and they ask me, what type of business should I put up? And when they ask me that question, I say, that's the wrong question to ask me. That's the wrong question to ask somebody who is an entrepreneur. Because the question you must ask, and what I've seen to be the most successful businesses, are people who ask themselves this question: what problem am I trying to solve? Again, the biggest thing that you want to do is you ask yourself the question of what problem am I trying to solve? Because if there is something that irritates you, and in business we call that pain points, if there is something that irritates you, it must irritate other people as well. So if you solve that common irritation, that is where you make money.
Every time government or DTI is faced with a lot of our prospective MSMEs or those who want to start a business coming to the office wanting to find out where to invest their money, how to start a business, where can they earn more. It is always, do you have the right mindset to go into business? Secretary Mon Lopez would have wanted to be here, and I know listening to Ms. Rowena earlier and also to the team here of Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, I know that if our secretary was available and was here, he would be so excited to really know what is happening and how Eagle Broadcasting is really reaching out to more and more micro, small, and medium enterprises. You know, that's also our role in the department. But even if we already have 1,071 negosyo centers all over the country. You know, before, DTI was only 81 offices all over the country because every province, you had a DTI office, Department of Trade and Industry office, where anyone can come to register your business name, ask about business, how to market your products. But from 81 offices, we are now 1,071. all over the country. Most of them, about 90% of the 1,071 negosyo centers are lodged with the local government. They gave us a house. Binigyan po kami ng bahay to put up and to set up the negosyo centers. Negosyo centers were set up by law. There was a law that was passed, the Go Negosyo Act in 2014. But more than that, I think, with Eagle Broadcasting Corporation reaching out online and now on TV as well, is really reaching out to more locally and internationally. We can have our negosyo centers featured. We can have our negosyo centers also guest in your programs. We can have the mentors in the Kapatid Mentor Me program also part of this program that you're going to have and is going to be also on TV. So a lot of efforts that we are doing, the training programs that we have, the coaching that we do in negosyo centers, all this, whether we do it online, whether it can be also connected and can be also aired through Net25 and through your Radio Aguila, I think these are all very good opportunities for us to explore.
Net25 shows live and on demand anytime, anywhere on any mobile device on OSN Play.
Mula po sa United Barber Brothers Philippines, kami po ay bumabati ng Happy New Year!
We are Air Gasmic Acoustic and thank you Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. And Happy New Year!
Mula sa Lord Baden Powell Communication Fire and Rescue Volunteer Incorporated, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, thank you and Happy New Year!
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Barely a year of its TV broadcast, Open for Business had the opportunity to travel outside the Philippines. We produced features in one of the world's most digitally advanced economies in the world. We had conversations with the region's top headhunter, the author of the book Actionable Intelligence at the renowned National University of Singapore, and an exclusive interview with the Executive Director of the Secretariat of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation at the APEC headquarters. Watch the highlights of our Singapore features. We are open for business. I am Cesar Vallejos, and with me is Associate Professor Keith Carter, the director of the FinTech Lab of the National University of Singapore. Thank you, Keith, for giving us this time to talk with you here at NUS.
Glad to have you here and glad to meet you as well.
Well, there's a lot of developments, a lot of innovations in terms of technology. Of course, not only in the Philippines, but when we come here and we see Singapore, it's really a different world where you thrive in an environment where technology is embraced by everyone. Maybe before we talk about your insights on actionable intelligence, I'd like you to describe what Singapore technology is. How do you live in such an environment that's enveloped by technology from the moment you arrive, and and when you go out and you see this beautiful airport that's very well known around the world. What is Singapore technology? How is technology defining this very, very beautiful country?
Sure. I'll tell you in two areas, one from daily life and one from my kids' point of view as well.
Okay.
Maybe I'll start with my kids. So we moved here 7 years ago, and at first my kids felt like, wow, the school system is so much harder than in New York. And they really wanted to perhaps even go back to New York. But now, 7 years later, they've acclimated to the rigorous work. They're a couple of grades ahead of their friends back in New York in terms of curriculum, which shows the intensity. But they also run a YouTube channel, and they have a Lego animation. So they take Lego and animate it together. They take hundreds of pictures and then publish it. They got part of this love from Saturday afternoon courses. They've gone and taken programming courses. They took the animation courses and began to become makers, if you would.
But our audiences might ask, how old are they?
They're 14 and 15.
14 and 15. Okay. Okay. And now they're animators,
Yes.
maybe they'll be the next creative studio owners.
Well, we'll see. I hope so. And I think that that type of, the environment here is one where you can spend time to create things. To answer it from the daily life perspective, it's very straightforward, I would say. When you come out of your house, like you mentioned, Grab, you can simply, book, or you can go to the bus and it's there. You go to the train and they're coming every 3 or 4 minutes. And there's a time. Every single one of the services, whether it's Grab, the train, or the bus, tells you when it will arrive. And that gives you a sense of comfort. That's actually intelligence. We like, as people, as humans, to know when something is coming. And so Singapore's done a good job of letting us know when the train will come, and it's there too.
You mentioned that, of course, you lived in New York and then you migrated here in Singapore. So how do you now compare that kind of technology and business environment from the Western point of view and now here with the Asian perspective?
I'll say something controversial. I sometimes feel when I go back to New York, I'm going to a second world country. So compared to Singapore, the airport in JFK is quite different. The subway system, the time it says there can be quite different than when the train actually comes. If there's a time that's displayed when the train will come. So yeah, there are quite a few differences where Singapore has gotten ahead in the basic infrastructure.
Now let's talk about business. Of course, you've published a book, and the idea so far, when I read some of the reviews, is for business owners to really deliver faster results. But my question is, you mentioned also that it has to be fact-driven and it has to be data-driven. In this world where we get a lot of information and data from various sources, before you go into this actionable intelligence, can you define in a layman's point of view what big data is? And there are a lot of viewers who are not necessarily IT experts, but they, in some way or another, use big data without them knowing it. So how do you define big data?
Well, I define it more about what we want to achieve. We never use things unless there's some benefit for us. Google Maps is a great example of an application that does crowdsourcing. It looks at all of us. How long did it take for you to get there? Okay, that's about how long it'll take for me to get there too. It does satellite. It does your GPS, of course. It's mapping. I mean, so much. That's really big data to do a very small function. I want to get from A to B. But aren't we delighted by it? We enjoy that so much that we will hardly leave home, or we won't go back to the old Rand McNally map, remember, and land in Rome and look through, oh, where do I go? that's not something we would consider going back to, right?
I would just like to ask, because I see also in the Philippines, what's your outlook in the Philippine market, and what do you think would be where the Philippine job market should do, or where is it going in terms of HR trends, in terms of the innovations in people management? How do you assess from the regional point of view, especially with the competitive advantage of the Philippines as an investment destination? What do you see in the Philippines? What's your outlook?
I love Philippines. It's more fun in the Philippines. We have a business there. Our research center is there. I'm extremely bullish about the development of Philippines in general. I think also there are certain, the fact that the country is so strong in the language and English skills is a huge plus. I think also the economic growth is just going to continue to be up in terms of the many next years, and the fact that there's a lot of infrastructure developments that's excellent for creating that support system for the country. And that hopefully will continue and should continue, because at the end of the day you need a solid infrastructure to be able to develop. So I think I see a lot of growth, I see a lot of potential. I also see a need to change. So for example, the BPO industry, the business process outsourcing industry in the Philippines is obviously a big industry, if not the biggest. There's going to be changes there. These processes of automation are going to impact the BPO as well, because some of those tasks will be not even, it's already outsourced, they will be automated. They will be taken over by bots. So there won't be somebody picking up your phone and answering your question. There will be a bot that has already a database of all the answers to potential questions, answering your question, right? So then there's going to be a level of training further the staff in terms of maybe coding or other skill sets. So I think that is necessary to do. There's a lot of smart Filipino that are into software development, coding, and all of that, and I see that as a growth market as well for the Philippines. Obviously, manufacturing can continue to grow, and I think you're attracting some solid investments from the outside, and there's a market to grow there. So I would say overall, I'm very positive. I'm very bullish that we will continue to do a lot of business specifically in the Philippines, and yeah, it's a place that I always come back with pleasure, because the people are great, and it's a great place to be.
What is, how important is the APEC relationship as far as providing opportunities for MSMEs?
In all of our economies across the board, about 95% of business establishments are SMEs. And if you bring in MSMEs, the micro group, it will be even bigger. And so when we talk, as APEC is an economic forum, and you're bringing together senior officials to talk about policies for the region, the betterment and the well-being of the region, you cannot avoid discussing issues that relate to SMEs or MSMEs. You also need to bear in mind the fact that whatever you do should have an impact on the people. And if you look at what Chile has done this year, is very clear. Their theme reflects that, connecting people, building the future. If we don't regard, or we don't bring the voice of the SMEs, of the women, of the minority groups, of the indigenous groups into the room, if we don't bring their voices into the room, and we're planning and we're talking of policies, then we would have failed in our work. We would have become just another talk shop and become irrelevant. The fact that we've given a priority, we've made it a priority for including in our policies the well-being of SMEs, to provide the reach for SMEs and for women entrepreneurs and minority groups, indigenous groups, says a lot about the work that APEC is doing.
Wir wünschen euch auf der ganzen Welt ein gutes neues Jahr. Ich bin Gerd aus Deutschland.
From Bonn, Germany, we wish you a Happy New Year!
Aus Bonn, Deutschland wünschen wir euch ein frohes neues Jahr!
Prosperous New Year 2020! Peaceful, joyful 2020 sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat po.
Ayan, maraming salamat po and bumabati po ako ng isang Happy New Year po sa lahat po ng mga kababayan natin Pilipino.
Hi guys, my name is Marcelito Pomoy and Happy New Year sa inyo.
Abangan ang programang magbubuklod sa ating mga Pilipino saan mang panig ng mundo. Ang musikang sariling atin. Ang himig ng lahi. Simula January 5, 2020, Linggo, alas 8 ng gabi, dito lang sa Net 25.
EBC Management regularly receives a number of foreign dignitaries, and Open for Business is honored to be part of these special occasions. It is indeed an honor to interview top diplomats from various embassies of nations assigned here in the Philippines, and Open for Business is most privileged to get first-hand information from ambassadors, charge d'affaires, and other key officials from foreign countries promoting trade and commerce and ICT in the country. We are open for business, and we are here with His Excellency Ambassador Stephen Robinson, Ambassador of Australia to the Philippines. Ambassador, thank you very much for gracing the show. We learned that you have been with a lot of ASEAN countries, and our first question is, how is Philippines different from the other countries that you've been to?
That's a really good question, and the Philippines is different, I think, because of the extent and the breadth and the depth and the length of the bilateral relationship between Australia and the Philippines. As you might be aware, the relationship with the Philippines goes back nearly 75 years in terms of our bilateral diplomatic relationship, starting back on the 22nd of May 1946.
As a matter of fact, earlier I mentioned that it's one of the longest diplomatic relationships that both our nations have.
That's right. So if you go down to the Manila Hotel, which I did the first weekend I was here, there's a plaque in the Manila Hotel which is there to signify that the Australian Consulate General opened on the 22nd of May 1946. So we're going to celebrate 75 years in 2021. But the relationship is much deeper and longer than that. It goes back through the Second World War, when indeed Australian troops were fighting with American and Filipino troops to look after the freedom of the Philippines. But in trade terms, it goes back to the late 1800s because we were engaged with the Philippines in the late 1800s in terms of goods coming from the Philippines down to northern Queensland.
That's interesting. So there's already, as early as that, there's commerce between us.
Lots of commerce between us and lots of interaction. And of course, when you look at what the relationship looks like now, it's underpinned by defence, security, intelligence linkages, lots of development assistance linkages going back over 50 or more years, but then people-to-people links. And it's the people-to-people links, the warmth of that relationship, which I find so very satisfying and so wonderful to explore.
But you said about that commerce, and as early as that time, would you still remember what products were traded during that time?
So my recollection is we're talking about elements of coffee that were coming down, coffee and perhaps some rice that was coming down to Australia back in the late 1800s, and Queensland was the area that was being directed to. And of course, over the years, our trade relationship has blossomed, but there's still more that we can do in terms of our overall bilateral trade.
With the 75 years of relationship, can you give us some highlights of that?
Yeah, so I think the highlights has been the consistency with which Australia has supported the Philippines in terms of its development assistance, in trying to work with the Philippines to find areas of common partnership. And, you know, each year Australia does a great deal in terms of development assistance partnership with the Philippines, and I'm very proud of what we do together. I'm also very proud of the defence relationship, and that's been of long standing. As you might be aware, we've got a SOFA, a Status of Forces Agreement with the Philippines that was ratified back in 2012-2013, and Australia is the only country beyond the United States that has such an agreement with the Philippines, and I think that says a great deal about the strength of our relationship. And if you also think about what happened during the siege of Marawi back in 2017, that saw the Australian defence and security relationship with the Philippines elevated, and I'm very, very pleased with what's occurred as a result of that cooperation between us, because our defence relationship now is particularly strong, and I think will remain so. And that goes to more than 8,000 troops that we've now trained for the Philippine Armed Forces in counter-terrorism activity, and the ongoing support that the Australian military provides to the Philippine Armed Forces, which I think is very, very important. And the work that we do also between our respective police forces. And so there's lots there that puts a very firm foundation on what is then the economic, trade, and people-to-people relationship.
On that note, Ambassador, of course, one of the key areas of cooperation also is the expansion of defense and security. And of course, on the latest news that we are looking at is that there's also some explorations on the production of sophisticated light arms, weapons, supply of helicopters, submarines, and other equipment or technologies that will help us modernize the armed forces. How important do you think, and how important is modernization of this equipment, especially now that, as you mentioned earlier, there are threats, and both our nations should really work together, not only our nations, but our the ASEAN region, so that we will be able to secure the countries and the region against terrorism and external threats. What's your thoughts on this, Ambassador?
First of all, you didn't pose this question first. Thank you. Because most of your Philippine colleagues, in the first place, they ask me about the prospects for our defense and security cooperation. And thereby ignoring or not paying proper attention at civilian fields of our mutually beneficial cooperation. As for the security and defense cooperation, of course, it's very important. So I'm not in a position to go into the details. I hope all my Philippine friends to fully understand that it's quite sensitive matter, and it's up to specialists, it's up to experts to formulate, articulate their assessments. As a diplomat, what I can say is that the reasons for our readiness and willingness to promote this highly responsible cooperation, because it requires mutual trust, mutual political trust. So our reasons are based on the fact that our two countries have common threats and challenges. That's why it's in our national interest to help our Philippine friends and partners increase their defense capabilities against our common enemies. First of all, terrorism, drug trafficking, and all other evils. So our defense and security cooperation is not against any other country, not at all. So it's developed in full compliance with the international law. And we believe that this cooperation will also, as I have already mentioned, will also contribute to the regional peace and stability and security. You have, I saw, there is a special program, state program of modernization of your armed forces, as far as I know. So Russia, as a reliable partner and good friend of your country, is ready to help your country to implement that program in accordance with your national interests. So we are ready to discuss any option of our cooperation.
Sir, with the reopening of the Embassy of Poland here in the Philippines, what do you think are the factors that led to the reopening? Of course, your economy is booming, but in terms of the relationship between the Philippines and Poland, what do you think were the right business environment or the economic climate that finally you're here and you're back?
No, this is, yes, I think that we are looking at ASEAN as a whole as a very promising, economic partner. It's already European Union is a fourth partner of the Philippines in the world. And as well, we as a Poles, we see the potential and opportunity that Philippines present to us, and it is untapped still potential. But with the very promising economic growth of the Philippines, with the envisaged reforms by the President Duterte administration that may help to boost the Filipino economy, it means that everything will move forward as well for us. And it's true that till now the exchange between Poland and the Philippines, it is not big. It is not big number. It is for
what's your figure, po? In terms of trade?
It's 536 million euro.
Okay.
But it's around Polish export is 80 million euro and import is 456 million euro from the Philippines. So we have a deficit of 376 million euro with the Philippines. And you won't try to balance it.
Although, as you said, it may not be big, it's just a small number, but I read and I've seen that it's really growing.
It's growing. In 1 year, when I compared the statistics, the turnover of both countries jumped to almost 1 million euro per year. So it's a big, and I think the next year will be, it was 2019, 2020, I think that will be essential. It may go, I'm for sure that 100 million euro for sure that we will go because of the quite huge selling coming from Poland to the Filipino Air Forces, because the Filipino Air Forces ordered 16 S-70I Black Hawk helicopters from Poland.
Wow.
So it is, in terms of the volume of the money, it's quite significant input into our trade relations. And as well, Filipino companies are investing in Poland. Filipino Container Port invested $100 million USD in the container port in Gdynia. And another Filipino company invested $250 million US in real estate in Poland. So it's not, one-way relations.
Yes.
So the benefit is on both sides, so it's a win-win relations.
Perfect. You mentioned earlier, sir, about the exports and imports data. In terms of exports, what are the Philippine exports what specific products?
In terms of the Philippines, I think that's mainly electronic parts. So some the electronic components, and as well the services. This means call centers Polish that are serving the Polish companies.
And in terms of imports, what products do we import from
mainly
Poland?
it's machines and spare parts for different spare parts for aviation as well. Dairy products.
Dairy products.
So food products, poultry mainly, and in small part is the chemicals that are exported to the Philippines.
What is your outlook of the media for 2020, for the Russian market and also for the global market? And of course, later on, I'll ask you to address our audiences on the cooperation of the Philippines and Russia. On your outlook on media in 2020?
The media in 2020 will be the same as the media in 2019.
Okay.
So the most important thing that this is multimedia. You don't have nowadays the pure media. There is no pure television.
Yes.
There is no pure newspaper.
Correct.
You cannot imagine the newspaper which lives only in paper.
Yes. But do you think print will die eventually?
No, it won't die. It will survive, but the newspaper is much more than only the printed version, because the influential and developing newspaper means that this is the long read on the paper. It's the site with every hour renewing information in internet. During the interview, you can make some photos. And there are the photos, digital photos, which can be spreaded also on internet. It can be some short video films, because if something happens which was shooted by the correspondent by cell phone, by smartphone, and we know that the present camera in the smartphone it's high definition, and some smartphones also have 4K.
Yes.
It's professional.
It's even better now. So sometimes the shots are very clear.
It's professional, and it means that you have the multimedia product in the newspaper. The same thing with television. The television consists not only in the broadcasting. The television consists in the internet. The television also can be consisted as the printed version of our interview, because what is the most important thing today in our life? More important than money. It's our time.
That's right. And speaking,
because there is only 24 hours in the day, and your customers, they should have the option whether to watch our interview and to spend all the time of the interview, or to read our interview, because the podcast is very important now.
That's right.
And if you don't want to spend a lot of your time, you can watch what is being printed in the written version of your product.
Okay. Sir, you yourself is a veteran as an editor, junior editor, TV producer. What is your advice to journalists and news producers and to all of us here at the studio?
Be interesting. Be interesting to the audience, and don't afraid anything.
On that note, I'd like to ask you, sir, to give your message to the Filipino audience watching here today. What's your message to them, especially to the Filipinos who are longing for Russian content, news and Russian content?
I want to say to the Filipino people that we want to cooperate with Philippines because Philippines is a wonderful country with wonderful people, and we love these people. Thank you so much.
Hello, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I would like to wish our EBC viewers around the world a Happy New Year. I'm your Eagle News correspondent, Nicole Padilla, always 1 with 25.
Hello from Memphis, Tennessee. I would like to wish all the EBC viewers around the world Happy New Year. I am Elmarie Gonzalez, your Eagle News correspondent, always 1 with 25.
Hello everyone, I'm Marilu Francisco, EBC correspondent in Europe. At the moment, I'm in the Netherlands. I wish you all a very happy new year, happy 2020. May we all have a great year and a wonderful time ahead. And here on Net 25, we're so excited to make new plans and memories with you. So together, let's stay always one with 25. Happy New Year!
It was also last year that for the very first time, EBC opened its premises to the public in an event called EBC Open House. It was again highlighted by an Open for Business forum with a keynote message from the President of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the voice of business in the Philippines. Watch these highlights.
All of you who are here today, warm greetings and welcome to EBC Open House. Part of our advocacy is to arm micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, with the knowledge that will keep them abreast with the latest trends to make their business afloat.
On behalf of PCCI, I would like to thank you and congratulate you for this event, for gathering the micro, small, and medium enterprises. On behalf of PCCI, I would like to thank you and congratulate you for this event, for gathering the micro, small, and medium enterprises. As I went through, I have seen them. And as you will know, I have been behind the many brands that grew from a micro business to small and small to medium. That is why when I took over as president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, I also wanted to help the SMEs. So going back to the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the fundamental change in the way we live, work, and communicate, it's not just about technology-driven change. It is an opportunity to help everyone, including leaders, policymakers, and people from all groups and nations to harness converging technologies and to build an inclusive future. PCCI, for the last 2 years, our theme were on digital economy. So today, the main question for business is how would they adapt and thrive in the digital economy brought about by the fourth industrial revolution that's already starting to make an impact on industries and jobs. We at PCCI, knowing this, have prepared. We now have the dual tech, wherein in education, they just don't learn in school, but they also learn in on-the-job immersion, because this is really where they can learn more. So with us, it was very important that we do this, because before there's really a mismatch. The companies could not hire them because they did not have the skills needed by the companies, employers. So this time, the employers would be the one to tell the schools, these are the jobs that we need, okay? So we start with the dual education, and it has been quite effective.
Mula po sa Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, bumabati po kami ng Happy Happy New Year!
Hello po sa inyo lahat! Ako po si Kalina Alcantara at gusto ko magbati ng maligayang bagong taon! So sana po itong year na to ay puno-puno ng improvement, puno-puno ng self-love, puno-puno ng happiness and positivity. So thank you so much and happy New Year!
Get the sound break! Happy Nazi! Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
We ended 2019 with EBC's Tech Forum, dubbed Explaining Blockchain and Cryptocurrency, which was well received by blockchain enthusiasts and cryptocurrency traders and potential investors. The messages of the government regulators, SEC and the ICT, were highly anticipated, as proponents of blockchain regulation are closely watching how the industry will be legitimized and provide equalizing access to opportunities that will push the country's development towards a world-class digital economy.
On this note, the nature of blockchain appears to be consistent with our goals. We all know the following features of blockchain. It removes the middleman, and it protects the integrity of information, protects the integrity of the transaction through an information system based on consensus. It is also decentralized. It is immutable or tamper-proof, because transactions in a blockchain cannot be changed without changing or affecting the values or the data in the entire chain. Transactions are also transparent. Members of the network know the transactions that are happening. These features have the capability of enabling a transparent and efficient system, and those are not diametrically opposed to the goals of the DICT. As for regulatory efforts, well, our government already has efforts that they are envisioning and also implementing in our country. Most of the efforts, however, are primarily directed at cryptocurrencies as an investment, as well as, of course, cryptocurrency exchanges. Well, for example, we have the Bangko Sentral de Pilipinas. The BSP's approach is to allow the market to develop and subsequently study it and then to issue responsive regulations and advisories. So in 2014, March, the BSP issued a warning advisory on virtual currencies, informing the public that virtual currencies are somewhat unregulated digital money that is valued subjectively according to one's ability to exchange them for goods. So that leads us to the question, for all its beneficial uses, why should we regulate blockchain? Well, the duty of government is to protect and balance different interests. As while your government is pursuing transparency and efficiency, the nature of blockchain also raises such concerns as privacy. Blockchain transactions are not totally anonymous. They are only pseudo-anonymous. Identity can still be tracked using the address to which you link it. There is also the high likelihood of unethical use. Blockchain seeks to empower, right? But again, technology is neutral. How you use it, the manner by which you use it, and the intention of your use dictates whether it's for good or for evil. Blockchain has the promise, it has the potential. And judging by the attendance of everyone here, the people are interested in its use. And the idea is for us to actually harness the beneficial nature of blockchain. If there's any takeaway we can get from the SEC, the BSP, and the CESA example is, we embrace innovation. But as government, we have to look at it cautiously as well. Because if there is a need to regulate in order to protect the people, of course we will do that. But for now, as stated by the CESA administrator, we have sandboxes. And we have instruments we could use, facilities that we could use to actually innovate on.
I just wanted to show you the fintech. This is the fintech landscape mapped across 8 categories worldwide. Okay, so you can see that there are 8 categories that affect us now: payments, insurance, planning, lending, crowdfunding, blockchain, trading, investments, data and analytics, and then security. And then we also have, of course, certain aspects of planning, lending, crowdfunding, blockchain, trading and investments, data analytics, and security intersects with securities regulation. Now, why am I in particular very focused on securities regulation? Because that's our function at the Securities and Exchange Commission. So securities, shares of stock, in theory, by law, are under our regulation, under our jurisdiction. And it is the position of the SEC, and it's also the position of the IOSCO. IOSCO is, by the way, the International Organization for Securities Commissions. So IOSCO over there. It's like the UN for securities regulators all over the world. And the position of IOSCO is that things like this are technically considered can be considered securities, and thus falling under our domain. Now, this is the basic approach of the Commission to fintech. Because even though technologies change, but the main investor protection principles, which is our primary responsibility at the SEC, they're still there. The KYC, AML, transparency, price discovery, public disclosure, suitability, fiduciary responsibility, that's still all there. So even with the changes in the technology, even with the advances in the technology, we still have to keep up. All the basic principles are still there. And it is admittedly difficult trying to find, as my other commissioner would call it, Commissioner Amatong would call it, he calls it finding the sweet spot, trying to find where the current system and fintech intersect properly. So it's admittedly a bit of a challenge as it stands. These are the 3 ongoing SEC fintech initiatives. There are 3 rules already with us. Okay, one is the crowdfunding rules, which have already applied. We issued that out early this year. And then we have the digital asset offering rules, the DAO, what we call the DAO rules, and which, by the way, is how we define all these different things: bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, all these connected assets we are going to lump them all together and call them digital assets, and they all fall under that. So the DAO rules are supposed to define, okay, and discuss what you're supposed to, what is considered a DAO and what falls under us. Now, the digital asset exchange rules, this is even more complicated. The digital asset exchange rules are the rules for, on our part, if you as a company want to come and register with the SEC as an exchange. If you're familiar with the Philippine Stock Exchange, the Philippine Stock Exchange is our example of that. The Philippine Stock Exchange is what we call a self-regulatory organization. And I know I'm getting technical now, I'm sorry. No, but self-regulatory organization, meaning it is an exchange where items can come in between, you can buy and sell there. That is where we intend all these digital assets to be in play. Okay? As much as possible, we don't want digital assets to be sold just online. Part of our regulatory function, in which might affect a lot of your businesses, I'm sorry about that, but that's the regulatory direction we're going, is that it has to be on an exchange. Why? Because if it's on an exchange, which is a self-regulatory organization, it's easier for us in government to keep track of. It helps ensure safety for everyone, for the investors in particular. So these two rules, the digital asset offering and digital asset exchange rules, have the DAX and DAO rules, have not yet been issued, but we're looking at issuing. We were supposed to issue that this year, but there has been some coordination issues with the final drafts with Banco Central and the other financial regulators. So we're looking at that at early next year. My strongest suggestion to everyone who's looking into this kind of business, you start looking at the drafts. The memorandum circular drafts are online. They're on our website, www.sec.gov.ph. I encourage you to take a quick look at them, because more or less that's the final versions, or those are the final versions already, save for some tweaking for grammar and jurisdictional issues, but more or less that's it.
Net25 shows live and on demand anytime, anywhere, on any mobile device on OSM Play.
From your correspondent here in Southern Ontario, I greet everyone a very Happy New Year. This is Rex Adam, and I am one with 25.
Hello, from Terlingua, Texas. I would like to wish our EBC viewers all around the world a Happy New Year. I'm Rio Marikio, your Eagle News correspondent, always one with 25.
From the District of Macau, we would like to greet our beloved Executive Music brother Eduardo B. Manalo and his family, and all the brethren all over the world. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, and thank you for watching Open for Business this year 2020. Expect Open for Business to give more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, and industry experts in promoting business development in the Philippines. We will also be conducting forums on FIRE, or the Fourth Industrial Revolution, e-commerce, health and wellness, and businesses of MSMEs in 2020. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business, and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News, and you can watch this again in the video section of the Eagle News Facebook page and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Eagle News. For Open for Business, this is Cesar Vallejos. Have a great day. And from the staff and crew of Open for Business, Happy New Year! Woo! Happy New Year to everyone!